Hello guys, you're watching the Old Tank and today I'm going to talk about the Bf-109. The Bf-109 was a German World War II fighter aircraft that, along with the Focke-Wulf FW-190, formed the backbone of the Last of Us fighting force. So the Bf-109 first saw operational service in 1937 during the Spanish Civil War and was yeah. So it was designed by William Messerschmitt and Lobert Lusser, who worked at the Bayerischen Flugzeugwerke during the early to mid 1930s. It was conceived as an interceptor, though later models were developed to fulfill military tasks, serving as bomber escort, fighter bomber, day-night all-weather fighter, ground attack aircraft, and reconnaissance aircraft. It was applied to several states during World War II and served several countries for many years after the war. The B-409 is the most produced fighter aircraft in history, with a total of 33,984 airframes produced from 1936 to April 1945. So I'm not going to talk much about this plane because the last recordings I did were about 40 minutes long, what with all the variants. So today I'm just going to talk about the basic design and the prototypes, and the variants will follow later at another video. Yeah, so anyways, let's go on to the origins. So during the 1933, the Technics Amt CAMT, the technical department of Reichsluftfahrtministerium, Reich Aviation Ministry, calculated a series of research projects into the future of air combat. Mm, so the result of the studies are four broad outlines for future aircraft: the Rüstung Flugzeug 1 for a multi-seat bomber, the Rüstung Flugzeug 2 for a tactical bomber, the Rüstung Flugzeug 3 for a single-seat fighter, and the Rüstung Flugzeug 4 for a two-seat heavy fighter. The Rüstung Flugzeug 3 was intended to be a short-range interceptor, replacing the R-64 and HE-15 biplanes then in service. The projected fighter needed to have a top speed of 400 kph at 6 kilometers, to be maintained for 20 minutes per having flight duration of 90 minutes. The critical altitude of 6,000 meters was to be reached in no more than 17 minutes, and the fighter was to have an observation ceiling of 10,000 meters on top of that. Get it? Well, anyways, so the power was to be provided by the Junkers Dummer 2-ton engine of about 700 horsepower. It has to be armed with either a single 20mm engine mounted cannon firing through the propeller hub, or two synchronized engine cowl mounted light machine guns, or one lightweight engine mounted MGFF cannon with two machine guns. So it has been suggested that the Bayerische Flugzeugwerk was originally not invited to participate in the competition due to personal animosity between Messerschmitt and RLM director Erhard Mills. However, no recent research by Willy Redinger and Walter Schick indicates that this may not have been the case, as all three competing companies, Arado, Heinkel and BFW, received the development contract at the same time. Design work on the Messerschmitt project number P1034 began in 1943, just 3 weeks after the development contract was awarded. The basic mock-up was completed by about May, and a more detailed mock-up was ready by January 1935. RLM designated the design as type BF-109. The first prototype, V1, was completed by May 1935, but the new German engines were not yet ready. To get the R3 designs into the air, the RLM acquired 4 Rolls-Royce Kestrel engines. So the first prototype of the BF-109 was built with the British Kestrel engine. After Luftwaffe's acceptance trial were completed at their headquarters, E-Pro Bungestel or Eastelle military aviation test and development facility at Rechlin, prototypes were moved to the subordinate Eastelle Baltic Seacoast facility at Travemünde, if I am pronouncing that correctly, for the head-to-head portion of the competition. The aircraft participating in the trials were the Arado RAT V3, the Focke-Wulf FW-159 V3, the the Heinkel He-112 V4 and the BF-109 V2. The He-12 arrived first in early February 1936, followed by the rest of the prototypes by the end of the month. So, because most of the fighter pilots of the Luftwaffe were used to biplanes with open cockpits, they were very critical of the BF-109 at first. However, it soon became one of the four front runners in the contest, as Arado and Focke-Wulf entries were proved to be completely outclassed. The R-80 with its gull wing and fixed pattern undercarriage was overwhelmed and underpowered, while the parasol-winged FW-159, potentially inspired by the same firm's earlier Focke-Wulf FW-56, was always considered by the East LA his facility staff to be compromised between a biplane and a low-wing monoplane. Initially, the He-112 was the front runner in the contest, while the BF-109 was regarded with disfavor by the test pilots because of its steep ground angle, which resulted in poor forward visibility while taxiing. The Heinkel He-12, based on a scaled-down blades, was the favorite of the Luftwaffe leaders. Compared with the BF-109, it was also cheaper. Projector experts of the 112, including the wide track and robustness of the undercarriage, considerably better visibility from the cockpit and a lower wing loading that made for easier landings. In addition, the V4 had a single-piece clear-view sliding cockpit canopy and a more powerful Jumo 210DA engine with a modified exhaust system. However, the He-12 was also structurally complicated, being 18% heavier than the 109, and soon became clear that the thick wing, which spanned 12.6 meters on the first prototype, was a disadvantage for a light fighter. As a result, the V4, which was used for the trials, had new wings spanning 11.5 meters with an area of 21.6 meters square. However, the improvements had not been fully tested, and the He-112 V4 could not be demonstrated in accordance with the rules laid down by the Acceptance Commission, placing it at a distinct disadvantage. Because of its smaller, lighter airframe, the 109 was 30 kph faster than the He-112 in level flight and superior in climbing and diving. The Commission ultimately ruled in favor of the 109 because of the Messerschmitt test pilot's demonstration of the 109's capabilities during a series of spins, dives, flick rolls, and tight turns. Anyways, now back to the basic design. As with the earlier BF-108, the new design was based in Willy Messerschmitt's lightweight construction principle, which aimed to minimize the number of separate parts in the aircraft. The small rudder of the BF-109 was relatively ineffective at controlling the strong swing created by the powerful slipstream of the propeller during the early portion of takeoff, which resulted in the pilot having to keep the rudder at a few degrees to the right during the takeoff, so the plane did not turn by itself or roll or anyways, it's something like that. Because of the large ground angle caused by the long legs, the forward visibility while on the ground was very poor, a problem exacerbated by the sideways opening canopy. From the inception of the design, the priority was given to easy access to the power plant, fuselage, weapons and other systems while the aircraft was operating from forward airfields. To this end, the entire engine cowling was made up of large, easily removable panels which were secured by large toggle latches. Though the entire power plant could be removed or replaced as a unit in a matter of minutes, a potential step to the eventual adaptation of the unitized power plant crafty engine mounting concept used by many German combat aircraft designs. The BF-109's advanced design was the use of a single beam, a spar in the wing, positioned more aft than usual to give room for the retracted wheel, thus forming a stiff D-shaped Thomson bar, which was more stiffer torsionally and eliminated the need for a rear spar, while most aircraft of the era used two spars. Another major difference from the competing design was the high wing loading. While the R4 contract called for a wing loading of less than 100 kilos per meter square. Messerschmitt felt that this was unreasonable. With a low wing loading and the engines available, a fighter would end up being slower than a bomber it was tasked with catching. So it would not be much of an interceptor left. A fighter was designed primarily for high speed flight. A smaller wing area was optimal for achieving high speed, but low speed flight would suffer, as a smaller wing would require more airflow to generate enough lift to maintain flight. To, to compensate for this, the 109 included advanced high lift devices on the wings, including automatically opening leading edge slats and a fairly large camber changing flaps on the trailing edge. While fighters with liquid cooled engines were vulnerable to hits in the cooling system. So, because of this reason, on later B109F and K models, the two coolant radiators were equipped with a cutoff system. If one radiator leaked, it was possible to fly on the second, or to fly for at least 5 minutes with both closed. Reflecting Messerschmitt's belief in low weight, low drag, simple monoplanes, the armored plate was placed in the fuselage. This kept the wings very thin and light. Two synchronized machine guns were mounted on the cowling, firing over the top of the engine through the propeller arc. An alternative arrangement was also designed, consisting of a single autocannon flying through a bass tube between the cylinder blanks of the engine, known as a motor cannon in German. When it was discovered in 1938 that the RAF was planning 8-gun batteries for its new Hawker, Hurricane and Superman Spitfires, it was decided that the 109 should be more heavily armed. The problem was that the only place available to mount additional guns was in the wings, thus violating the Messerschmitt's principle of light aircraft with only guns on the fuselage to maintain simplicity. The first version of the 109 to have wing guns was the C1, which had one light machine gun in each wing. The much longer and heavier MGFF autocannon was to be mounted farther along the wing in an outer bay. A large hole was cut through the spar, allowing the cannon to be fitted with the ammunition feed forward of the spar, while the breech lock projected rearward through the spar. A 60-round ammunition drum was placed in a space closer to the wing root, causing a bulge in the underside. A small hatch was incorporated in the bulge to allow access for in the drum. From the 109F series onwards, the guns were no longer carried inside the wings. Instead, the F had a 20mm gun firing through the propeller shaft. The change was disliked by leading fighter pilots, but others considered the single nose mounted gun to compensate well for the loss of two wing guns. In place of internal wing armament, additional firepower was provided by a pair of 20mm MG-15120 cannons installed in gun pods under the wings. The gun pods, exclusive of ammunition, weighed 135 kgs, and 105 to 145 rounds were provided per gun. The total weight, including ammunition, was 215 kgs. Anyway, so maybe this is enough for one video, and well, we are stretching this video to quite a bit. So yeah, this is the end of our first part on the BF109. Subscribe if you like the video, and yeah, well, support me please. Thank you. By the way, I have a playlist here, and you should watch my first video, and here is another link to my channel.